Okay, so today's webinar is one of the webinars from the series of learning, unlearning, and relearning webinars. And here we only talk about educational neuroscience, but to be precise about the science of learning, unlearning, and relearning. And I am representing Neurocom 25 Lab, where I am the chief educational neuroscientist. And we are the pioneers of the science of learning, unlearning, and relearning. We are the first ones to sort of take it on board in terms of conducting research on 3 levels, on cognitive, affective, and cognitive levels. And for people who are new to psychology, to neuroscience, so these are the basic 3 levels, or we also call them the ABC of psychology. So we operate, human being, a person operates all together on all these 3 levels. So if we talk about exploring, about conducting research on learning, we have to definitely explore all 3 levels. We can't exclude any of them, because learning is not only cognition. Learning is also affection. Learning is also conation. Conation means will, action, behavior. And we are the first to conduct research on all these 3 levels simultaneously and see the interrelationships between these levels. I think this is the focal point here, because it's not about separating, and dividing the process of learning. It's about conducting research in cognition, affection, conation, but also the interrelationships between them, which is very important here. So that's to make a long story short, but I'm very, very proud to introduce this research today. And I would say this is going to be just just a starter for you to taste it, because there is a lot to unpack. And when the final papers, the seminal papers, are going to be released, then we will be able to talk about it in details. But we are also teaching. So what we do, we conduct first-hand research, but first and foremost, we are interested in the most difficult part, which is the translation of this current evidence that we have at universities, that our colleagues are doing as well, but also translation. And translation means teaching. It means bringing it in the form of white papers, policy. How can we transform everything on a system level, on a systemic level, not just bottom up, person to person, teacher to students, but this level as well. So all the levels all together, we have to sort of try different levers, as many levers as we can. But of course, it's the matter of time, because this research and this implementation science is quite new in terms of the form, but we got back to the classics in terms of the content. And this framework is extremely creative. And talking about creativity, because you're going to see, and you probably have a feeling, you can sense that it's a very creative name, Bonsai thinking, systems thinking. And we also added to the worldwide sort of organizational learning theory, we are adding a new term. We've just added that already, which is Bonsai thinking. And as long as you can see, it's a creative name. But let's clarify what creativity actually is, because some people tend to mix it up with grotesque and with something that just has an impression. But creativity has three main components. And it's important to clarify before we get into this topic. So number one is originality. Yeah, when we talk about being creative, it means being original. So bonsai thinking is very, very original. It's as original as it can be. Yeah, because nobody talked about it before. Yeah, so we are the first people to talk about it. I'm the first person to introduce it, to present this research at the University of Oxford in 2021. That was back in the time, the International Conference on Education. So it's original. Nobody did it before. Nobody has heard about it before. So it's original. Number two, creativity is also about effectiveness. Yeah, so people sometimes think that creative ideas, they might be not that very applicable to real life. Hello, Victor. Long time no see. You missed me definitely, because Victor is our wonderful facilitator and organizer from Harvard. So we just had a session at Harvard as the part of the rebuilding of Ukraine project. And so I was talking about creativity, yeah, the components of creativity, because before we get into the topic of bonsai thinking. Originality, we said, you guys can confirm, you can agree that it's very original because you've never seen that before. You probably have never heard that before because it never existed before. And of course, we have the evidence of that, but also the effectiveness. Creative endeavor means something that makes our life easier and something that is really applicable to real life. Yeah, so all the best inventions, they are not just creative, they are effective. Yeah, because if we take, this is my favorite example, if we take the shoe and put it on the hat, it might be unusual, but it's not creative. Yeah, because this is not the best use of the shoe. Yeah, the shoe works perfectly well on the foot, not on the hat. So it has nothing to do with creativity. And you know, it's sometimes very difficult to talk to people because we are people of different sort of caliber. You know, what is somebody's ceiling is just somebody's floor. And we always have to bear that in mind, because if you think that somebody's idea is crazy, yeah, you might have to try to think that it might be just your floor, your ceiling, yeah, which is somebody else's actually flaw, that people just started from there. Yeah, so we have to be mindful about that creativity is not just originality. This is effectiveness. This is about making our life better. And this is actually what bonsai thinking is about. So we're moving into the topic, and I'm just reminding that we're recording the session and it will be online. So if you guys don't want your faces to be recorded, so you can turn off the camera. It's totally up to you. Just feel free to turn off your cameras if you don't want to be seen by people all over the globe. All right, so these are just about the privacy issues. And moving into bonsai framework, bonsai framework, bonsai thinking framework is not just original, but extremely effective because it taps into cognition, affection, and connection all together. This is what we've talked about at the very beginning, that when we study any kind of behavior, any kind of engagement, because learning is engagement, we have to study this engagement on all three levels. Yeah, on the cognitive level, this is the thinking, on the affective level, which is the feeling, and also on the cognitive level. And the cognitive level is the will. Yeah, your strive to do it. Yes, your persistence, your volition, your behavior. And this is what bonsai thinking framework is about. And that is why it is creative, because it is not just original, it's new and it has never been done before, but because it is also creative. It's because it is also effective. Yeah, as we said, creativity is originality, affectivity as well. Yeah, it covers all three engagements. Yeah, all three um, groups, yeah, or categories of the trilogy of mind. If you are interested in psychology, I would suggest just double checking what the trilogy of mind is. But in simple terms, yeah, this is cognition, affection, and connection. Yeah, what we think, what we feel, and what we actually do, yeah, or strive to do. And the third part, yeah, the third component of creativity is simplification. Everything that is really effective, that is really creative, yeah, is simple. Yeah, lots of, famous people, lots of great people, they have quotes on simplicity. Yeah, Coco Chanel used to say, when you leave your house, yeah, you don't have to put something extra on. Yeah, you have to take a lot of things off. Yeah, before you leave the house. So she was pro simplification. Yeah, when you take many different philosophers, yeah, great philosophers, they will tell you that life is simple. Yeah, people make it complicated. So real invention, something that really, really can change, yeah, the whole thing in different fields, regardless of the field, is simple. Yeah. So it's about simplification, making life simpler. And this is what creativity is. Originality. Yes, bonsai thinking is different. It has never been talked about before. No one has done that before. Number two, what we've just spoken about. This is the effectiveness. It should be effective, right? Bonsai thinking is effective because it covers the whole trilogy of mind: cognition, affection, and connection. And also bonsai thinking simplifies the whole thing. Yeah, it simplifies the way we learn. That learning is a cycle, that we not just learn in a broad sense, we actually learn, unlearn at the same time, and we actually relearn, which means that learning is ubiquitous. Yeah, it's informal, it's passive, so it is happening even when you are in McDonald's. You can learn even in McDonald's. So we learn from the environments that surround us, and that's why it is really important to pay attention to the build environments, because in investing in the proper construction, it actually can support learning. But to be precise, to be simple, it supports relearning. And this is what bonsai thinking is about. So I hope I warmed you up, yeah, a little bit, so you understand what the talk is going to be about. So today, as I said, we are presenting this framework, but this is just, just to give you a flavor. So it's just the first time to give you a flavor before we officially launch the papers, which are going to be the seminal papers. And today I'm very proud to share the feedback that I got from the prominent scientific journals on bonsai theory. But today is just the flavor for you to see what kind of framework it actually is. Because in reality, we are all learners, regardless of the fact if you are a teacher, if you're an educator, but even if you're a leader. Yeah, I always say that leaders are teachers and teachers are leaders. If you're a leader, you're a teacher. Even people relearn from you. Yeah, even if you don't deliver, so to speak, directly. Yeah, people see you and people relearn from you. Somebody is texting that their English is not good enough. Oh, I see this is the Turkish name. Ben Türkçe biliyorum ama şimdi İngilizce konuşuyoruz maalesef. So I'm just responding that I speak Turkish, but the webinar will be in English. So welcome to the session. And as you can see, we've just introduced and a little excursus into the history of bonsai thinking, the origins, the evolution, and the modern days. And it's really funny because as somebody, yeah, he's writing super. Yeah, as somebody who, was just one day I got a present of bonsai tree, and I am the type of person that I like, having time for reflection in my life. And I like just having at least 1 hour a day. And I recommend doing that to everybody. I will explain why from the neuroscience standpoint, just to have some time. If you don't have 1 hour, it's sometimes difficult to find 1 hour, but I try to find that at least either very early in the morning when I get up or after lunch, when you have this time for a mini siesta. So just have some time to just sit. I like to sit because I always have the pen and my notebook to jot something down, to doodle maybe, just to free your mind. Yeah, and this is called the state of, the state when your brain is in default mode condition. Yeah, so we call it default. Hello, Natalie, welcome. Default mode network in your brain is responsible for this state of open consciousness when you are trying not to think about something. Yeah, when you are just savoring the moment. And I practice this state in my life because I think they are more important sometimes than the busyness. And I can explain that from the neuroscience standpoint. Yeah, this is because of the default mode network in the brain. And I was sitting, I got the gift, the bonsai tree. And I was sitting, I was just, jotting something down, doodling. And then what happens to your brain when you're relaxed, your salience network is responsible for, attaching to stimuli, for reacting to stimuli, and then sending this information that you get in default mode network state to the executive network. So basically the way we operate in life and the way we learn are these three networks. So your default mode, and this is unlearning. If I don't forget, we will talk about it today. If I will forget, we will talk about it later on, because today is just an introduction. Then salience network, this is when you relearn. It's like you got that, that thing, it clicked. It clicked and something happened that the idea caught your attention. It caught your eye. And this is the salience network responsible for that. And then learning. When the execution happens, the executive network is responsible for learning. And this is what happened to me. Yeah, I was in default mode. Then the click happened when I saw bonsai tree on my desk. And at that time, I was working for Cambridge University Press as a teacher trainer. And I was observing classes, going to schools and observing how teachers teach. And I realized, and the tree, bonsai tree was the olive tree. And I realized that because the olive is common for the Mediterranean basin, for that area, and I was in Turkey at the time, And I realized that those teachers, they really resemble those trees because they are in their pot. Bonsai means planted in the container. So those teachers, they are situated in their classrooms. And whatever we tell them to do is not always suitable for their environment. Especially, I visited public schools and they had 40 students in one class, and they were having shifts, like, because they didn't have enough school rooms for all the kids to accommodate them in the morning. So they had to come in the afternoon. And I remember those teachers, like after the first shift, they moved to the second shift. And I realized whatever we tell them, we have to bear in mind that they are planted in the pot of their context. And that was like the lightning struck me. And I started, conducting research, and my executive network started to work. And as you can see, in 2021, in November, I presented that research at the University of Oxford in the UK, and I wrote the first draft paper. At that time, it was bonsai philosophy, because I was not sort of pretty much concerned with systems thinking. I've been a systems thinker, but I was not concerned with the term itself, and that thinking would be a better word for bonsai, because this is thinking. Actually, it's a mindset, it's an application, right? And that time there was bonsai philosophy, and the first paper was written, but I felt that something is missing. And that was the time when I completely had my reinvention happening. And from education, I moved to the field of, hello, Brendan. Thank you for coming. It's good to see you. Good to have you here. So, and I moved to neuroscience research, to neuroscience career, educational, of course. It's based on my educational experience in education. But it was, reinvention. And I was thinking that something is missing. So I did that research completely based on educational frameworks that I knew at that time. And then I started to relearn. As I said, again, my salience network, started to play its role. I started to catch some other ideas. And in 2024, that was just a wonderful time in my life and my career, when I was accepted to present this research for Quantinuum. This is the quantum. Oxford and Cambridge is a wonderful organization. They are the first ones to create the quantum computer, and there's a research in educational neuroscience and quantum education that they do there as well. Selma Dundar Quaker is responsible for education. She's a wonderful lady, and we are planning to cooperate together. So lots of interesting things happened in terms of that I was accepted to present this research, because when I was presenting that for the first time, people everyone was like, so interesting, like bonsai. But yes, it's true. Like all the teacher training that I've done, it was just, it could be mapped onto that very well. But I felt it's more than that. And I needed to relearn that. So I was looking for those stimuli, my salience network in the brain was looking for that. And I remember the day, I will never forget it, because that conference was exactly on my birthday. And, everything, it just went very well. And I published the workbook in May 2024. And I will present that today. It's been for 1 year. It's called Bonsai Philosophy, but you can guess that it's still the same, and it's bonsai thinking, which is a better term that we use here after. And now the modern days is bonsai thinking. And in Bonsai executive coaching, when I help, first of all, the executives, the professionals to learn, unlearn, and relearn in a new era of artificial intelligence. And of course, it's not just an era of artificial intelligence, it's an era of super complexity because, we have hybrid wars happening. Yeah, we have geopolitical issues happening that are unprecedented. Everything is complex. Yeah, super complex. But why I call it an era of AI? Because I'm responsible, my field is learning and knowledge creation. And AI, as you know, is a knowledge creator. But this framework is really it really taps into the human side of things that help us to stay competitive in this era of AI. Yeah, because we are competing with AI. And I always say that we have right and left hemisphere. Yeah, this brain divide, it divides our lives and it divides how we look at things actually. And AI is what they call it. They not just create the left-brained AI, yeah, which is mostly about the processing, like, the automation of things, but they also started to create the right-brained AI. And if you guys have not heard this webinar, I gave that webinar, I think, 3 weeks ago. So please watch that online. You can find that on YouTube, AI versus AI, yeah, embodied cognition in an era of artificial intelligence. If you're interested in getting to know the difference between right, yeah, and left hemispheres, and how they work together, because the right hemisphere is more holistic. Yeah, it's like a snapshot. It takes a picture of the whole thing, and then you decide how to operate. This is this sort of salience, yeah, network that I have been talking about now. So, what was I about to say? And yes, and this is what happened. We are competing with AI. Yeah, AI is good at processing. It has large data sets. What can we bring to the table? What human being is innately good at is learning, and learning and relearning together as a cycle, because AI can also learn, but AI cannot unlearn, which means spiritual intelligence, and we will talk about it today. And also AI cannot relearn. They are trying to do that actually. Researchers are creating the robots that learn from reactions, that learn from environment, yeah, which is relearning. But hopefully it's not going to work out because there is something human, and this is the body. Yeah, how we are different from AI. This is the main difference is that we are embodied. Our cognition is embodied. Yeah, we react, we sense, we have sensory motor networks in the brain. Yeah, we sense this life with the body. And this is also cognition. Cognition is not only in the head. As I said in the beginning, it's cognition, it's affection, what we feel, yeah, our emotional responses, our emotional understanding, yeah, as well as connection, the actions that we take. Yeah, these actions are the learning treadmill. If you do the warrior posture, yeah, in yoga, you feel different. You feel like the warrior. And this is because cognition is embodied. And you think like the warrior, you become braver, yeah? You become more courageous. And sometimes you just have to write. Why people ask you, why neuroscientists, we keep telling you, write by hand, don't type. When I see the students typing all the time, I just want to say, don't type. Your hand, your body is connected to the motor sensory networks in your brain. So when you write something by hand, you remember it better because cognition is embodied and AI doesn't have a body. So this is not the topic. I don't want to get further into that. If you are interested, listen to the webinar in recording. So this is Bonsai thinking framework. I see something in the chat. Is it okay to write in an electronic? Yes, I think so. But I think it's the same. You're holding, yeah. If you handwrite in an electronic device, Natalie, you're holding the pen, yeah, and paper. Yeah, I think it's more or less similar. But I think when it's a ballpoint pen, you fill, every single letter. So the more you fill it, the better. The focal point is to fill it, yeah, to have this feeling that you're doing it yourself. Okay, so that's the history of bonsai thinking. So for 5 years, I've been working on that, and finally, 2 seminal papers have been accepted to the journals, scientific journals, and that was something phenomenal for me because it's creative. The name is creative, but the content, the whole meaning of it is effective, and it's not just original. Yeah, it's about simplification. It's about making your learning simpler. As I said at the beginning, all creative things, they should be original, they should be effective, and they should make our lives simpler. Otherwise, there is no point in reinventing the wheel. Yeah, if it doesn't make our lives better and simpler. So, and these are the interesting and very pleasant comments that I got from the reviewers. So, from the leading world journals, scientific journals in educational research, this theory presents an imaginative and interdisciplinary exploration of the learning, unlearning, and relearning process. Before that, there was some research on learning, of course, the science of learning, some research on unlearning in organizational theory, but it was like dispersed. But nobody has never done before research on learning, unlearning, and relearning, particularly as a subject, as a cycle. And when I looked into the literature, especially literature in medicine, the researchers were saying that there is a big gap, the puzzle is missing. When the medical students, when they leave university, when they graduate, the practices in medicine, especially in pediatrics, and the example was the blockage of their air pathways. When children have their air pathways blocked, all those treatments that they do, when it happens, they change, these practices, they change very rapidly. And the researcher was saying that the doctors, as soon as they graduate, the attitudes, the treatments, they already changed. And they need to really learn, unlearn, and relearn. And especially when it comes to the lives of children, yeah, to medical field. So learning, unlearning, and relearning is not just effective. It is not just creative and super original bonsai thinking. It's a necessity. And not just because we live and compete with AI and we live in an era of AI. Yeah, it's necessity because it can be related to such fields as medicine, as lives of children. So the reviewer writes that interdisciplinary exploration, yeah, of learning, unlearning, and relearning process through the innovative metaphor of bonsai thinking. I would like to stress that out, that bonsai thinking is a metaphor for the process of learning. Why is it a metaphor? If you guys are Christian or you've heard about Jesus Christ or Buddha, if you're Buddhist, or you know the teachings of Buddha, or Muhammad, if you're Muslim, they all, or if you're Jewish, the Moses, prophet Moses, yeah, they all, the way they preached was all in metaphors, because they were master teachers. And master teachers, they teach in metaphors. The reason, neuroscience, because when you attend your attention, yeah, you attend to the stimuli, it is your right hemisphere that takes this snapshot judgment and sees the whole picture, and it's implicit. So when you hear the metaphor, you understand it completely with your whole body implicitly. And then when you start describing, yeah, untangling this is your left hemisphere responsible for language, yeah, so Wernicke's and Broca's area in the brain. So it's all very scientific. Metaphors are scientific. They are not just pleasant to attend to, yeah, pleasant to hear, yeah. When we listen to the preachers, they're interesting, yeah. They are like stories. We love storytelling. It's fascinating. We can feel the storyteller, but it's all because it's a holistic approach. It's implicit, and implicit can speak more, can speak louder than explicit. We have to untangle things, especially in research. I'm doing research. I got this, like, as I said, my salience network just clicked, but I had to spend 5 years of my life to explicitly using my left hemisphere this time, put it on paper. Yeah, and explain it and prove it that I'm right, that this has the right to exist. So it's a metaphor. The integration of neuroscience, happiness studies, and future studies offers a fresh conceptual synthesis that is both creative and intellectually stimulating. So the focal point of bonsai thinking is that we learn, and the interventions that we do for learning are neuroscientific. So we use neuroscience, we apply neuroscience research to connect, to have learning happening, yeah, and to bring neuroscience to education. We use meta skills, metacognition, and meta motivation. So if you guys have not heard yet, we've just launched a course, and you see my background, the first new job of the future, educational engineers. This is the job that the fathers and mothers of the field of mind, brain, and educational neuroscience envisioned. Kurt Fischer, the founder, he said that we need those experts who will connect neuroscience to education. And these experts, he called them educational engineers. So we did that. We created that course that will help you to see those connections in such a simple, in such a comprehensive way. We break it down for you. You just have to put it in your mouth. You don't have to chew it even, because we chewed it for you as well. So it's very, because I'm a teacher, so I like explaining complex concepts in a way that everybody can understand. And this is the main idea of Neurocom 25 Lab. We translate difficult stuff into practical applications. And neuroscience, yes, we need to bring in neuroscience to talk about learning even, yeah, because learning, what neuroscience is connected, we use the brain, right, brain is by virtue an organ involved in learning. And we also are not just a passive object that we put the transcranial device, yeah, and they do something, and we are super smart, yeah, or all those cognitive trainings that are being advertised. We are a subject, so we have to train our cognitive skills, yeah, our cognitive flexibility, our current memory, yeah, our executive functions. And for this, we need neuroscience. To learn, we need neuroscience. Then happiness study. As we said, that learning is not just happening here, it's also effective. So we really need happiness studies. And here in this framework, it taps into unlearning. The way we unlearn, we not just go deeper. Yeah, we also unlearn things that are against our happiness, either in the moment, which is hedonia, our hedonic happiness. And we do it even automatically. If you don't like the person, you don't accept from them. Whatever they're telling you, you're deaf, you're blind. And sometimes you're also deaf and blind to the things that are not the part of you, that are not in your eudaimonic happiness, which is the virtuous happiness, yeah, your principles, your purpose, your values. So if this is not the part of your values, you will unlearn it straight away. You won't even let it get to you. And this is happiness studies that we apply as an intervention here. And future studies, as we spoke about the science of relearning, yeah, and I told you about the salience network, yeah, which is reacting to relevant stimuli. And as I always say, you can learn even in McDonald's. And you need to understand futures literacy, what it is imagination, how you visualize that the future doesn't exist, that the future is created. There is no such thing as future. In some languages, I think in one of the African languages, they don't even have the word future. They just have present. In Western languages, in Germanic, European, Indo-European languages, we have all these three. But in some languages, they don't have this word. They don't have this, thing at all, yeah, as a future. Because future, what you do now and what you do is the key. Because as I said, the relearning is the cognitive aspect, yeah, behavior, this third component of the trilogy of mind. So when you tap into it, when you do it, when you visualize it, yeah, and not just visualize in your mind's eye, you visualize it on paper, you plan the project, you are relearning while you're doing it. So, and this requires future studies interventions, and there is a plethora of interventions that we do. The futures triangle, for example, by famous, well-known futurist Sohail Inayatullah, yeah, the pool of the future, the push-pull, yeah, we have this triangle as a intervention, and many other future studies interventions that we do. So it's all in one framework. So basically, as I started, creativity is about originality, it's about effectiveness and simplification. So this framework taps into all three to simplify the whole thing of learning. Because learning is not just learning, it's a cycle. It's learning, unlearning, and relearning. And offers a fresh conceptual synthesis that is both creative and intellectually stimulating. So this synthesis is important here. The paper's metaphorical framing successfully captures the cyclical and systemic nature of learning. So that's why I called it not bonsai philosophy, but bonsai thinking, because it's like systems thinking. And in my paper, I proved it using the systems thinking test, and I will show it to you in a while. Cyclical and systemic nature of learning, and makes a potentially valuable contribution to organizational learning and educational theory. So I created the whole theory, the new field of studies, the field of learning, unlearning, and relearning. And it never happened before in the history of education. And we have the system test by Arnold and Vadi. It offers a clear structural framework. So this is the test that I used to prove the theory for validating the concept of bonsai thinking. The adaptation of a system thinking approach aligns logically with the proposed metaphor. And you will see it in the paper in a little while, as soon as we release the paper. And hopefully it's going to be this year, because it took me 1 year to do the whole thing, and reviewing and everything takes so much time in science. It takes so much time. So we are already practicing that with the coaching clients, but I want it to be like to be there. It's already, you can find some stuff online already on Medium, but the paper is coming this year. Also, another reviewer, the author is commendable. I really like this. It's very flattering for this work being an imaginative and conceptually rich paper that introduces an innovative metaphor of bonsai thinking to explain the learning, unlearning, and relearning process. The integration of neuroscience, happiness studies, and future studies is commendable and gives the work a strong interdisciplinary appeal. The manuscript proposed a new definition of a learning cycle as unlearning, pruning, relearning, wiring, and positioning, and then learning again, watering and fertilizing, which is interesting and will contribute to the field. And I will introduce this framework to you in a while. Here we go. First of all, important to say, when I was researching that, and it's cited in my research papers, I found the work of Michael Araki. He is a researcher specializing on polymathic mindset. And he found out that the knowledge is about length, breadth, and depth. Not length, sorry, that's mine. About breadth, depth, and integration. So if you are a professional in particular field, you have the depth of knowledge, right? You also have the breadth of knowledge. If you sort of pursue this polymathic mindset, polymathic life project, it means you are interested in different fields. Yeah, so you sort of become a professional in many different disciplines. So it's important to have the breadth. Yeah, you add different disciplines to your portfolio, but it's also important to have the depth of this knowledge and also integrate them together to have something innovative, yeah, to have an interesting new outcome. And I like that idea, but I moved further, and the idea is, of course, I'm not researching polymathic mindset, polymathic life project. I'm researching and I'm interested in the science of learning, how people learn particularly. And I found out, and I've never seen that before. I just think lifelong learning. You all know that, because people who are here, I know some people, you are definitely lifelong learners. We have Anthony, we have Natalia from HSA, yeah. And we have some more people who left, yeah. So not many people there actually. So you are lifelong learners. We have to be, right? Lifelong learners. We learn. Learning doesn't stop when you graduate. Yeah, we all know that. Then life-wide learning is also quite an interesting concept that we learn even in McDonald's. It's just to simplify, yeah. And it was created, researched and introduced for the first time in the UK, so it existed before. But I've never heard and I've never seen in research papers live deep learning. And this is something that I added here. And here we have the framework of bonsai thinking. So lifelong learning is watering, like you water your bonsai, yeah, because bonsai is in the confined pot. is in the enclosed space. So, and as any flower, any plant, it needs water. And water is metacognition. This is when we bring in neuroscience interventions. Fertilizing. Bonsais are very specific. He's not attending today, but I have, as a friend, acquaintance, one professor from biology, botanics, and he was really fascinated by this research because he knows how bonsai function, that they need the special fertilizer because the pot is confined. Bonsai trees, they are normal trees, and they can be huge, they can grow massive. But the problem is that they put them in this small confined space, which is our context in life. We are put in our context, guys, in your environment, yeah? You are enclosed in your context and you need fertilizer. And this fertilizer is meta motivation. And it goes deeper than just, intrinsic, extrinsic. It's deeper. This is the self-actualization theory, and we tap into that and we go further and we talk about growth mindset, but properly, real growth mindset. We talk about delayed gratification and attention regulation. These are your main resources that you have in real time, and you have to fertilize your bonsai. Then we go live deep learning. Is pruning. Bonsai masters, they prune the tree according to the specific aesthetic that they want. Because the trees, they have this atypical development. They grow small because they are in a pot, but they also need the leaves have to be pruned to remain small as well, yeah, to be these mini tiny leaves and so on. So pruning is very important. And pruning taps into life deep learning. As I said, your hedonia and eudaimonia. Yeah, your hedonia should be here, not hedonic. Hedonia and eudaimonia. Your hedonic and eudaimonic happiness, what goes against it. Yeah, you unlearn these things, and sometimes it's automatic. And there are also frameworks that we use in coaching to help our clients to prune themselves and to unlearn the beliefs, the approaches that do not serve them anymore. And life-wide learning. This is what I'm concerned with in the context of the built environments. Bonsai masters, they wire the tree. So they take a little tiny wire. I don't have just my earphones, yeah? And they wire the tree in a way that it takes specific shape. And this is where we apply futures literacy. And we teach our clients how to choose their futures. We have preferred futures. We teach preferred futures. And futures literacy has many different components. It's not just that. Yeah, it's not just preferred. I just wanted to say another type of future, but it's not in the back of my head now. If I can just remember it very quickly, I will let you know. So, and positioning, positioning the tree, the tree should face the sun. Yeah, and this is how the environment influences us. Yeah, the built environments, even the lighting, yeah, even the sounds, the noise, everything is important for learning. Yeah, some people, they need sometimes need sometimes the noise, and we even have a very interesting framework that we apply, and we call it listen to the noise, because sometimes this noise, it has something in it for relearning. Yeah, if you go to the places where people are very successful, if you surround yourself with successful people, this is positioning. It's just a very, random example. It's deeper, of course, than that. But we all know, yeah, that our surroundings, the people we are dealing with, they all contribute to our learning. They actually contribute to our relearning. because this is this salience network at play. This is bonsai thinking. So we have 5 elements: watering, fertilizing, pruning, wiring, and positioning. And it taps into lifelong learning, life deep learning, and life wide learning. Learning is 3 dimensional. It is not only lifelong. It is life deep and it is life wide. And the 3 dimensions, as you can see, you might be willing to take a photograph of it just to have it next to you. So we focus on learning as accumulation, adding new knowledge and skills to our existing repertoire. But in rapidly changing environments, we need a 3 dimensional approach. Learning is not just lifelong when you're adding, yeah? Sometimes you are getting rid of something that doesn't serve you anymore. And this is unlearning. And it's also learning. It's the part of the cycle. Yeah. So lifelong, traditional dimension of continuous learning throughout life. Depth, life deep learning, the ability to go deeper by unlearning what no longer serves us. And life wide learning, the capacity to see familiar things in new ways through environmental and contextual relearning. Yeah, this is when it clicks, when you form the schemata. And the masterpiece, yeah, this is the workbook on learning, unlearning, and relearning that I published in 2024. So you can see, you can, if you're interested, you can get the workbook. It's of course very affordable, and you can use it with your coaching clients. It's sort of an introduction. It's more to come. You know, we teach it deeper on the coaching certification course, but it's an introduction and you can use it with your clients. It has coaching questions on the science of learning and systems thinking, not just bonsai thinking. It's all together. So you guys who are watching on YouTube, sorry, on what was that, Facebook? Yeah, you can also get the book. I think it's attached to the wall. Yeah, you can see it. You should be seeing it somewhere on Facebook. And got it message. Do you have backing slides or something to see these topics? What do you mean, Natalie, by backing slides?
Like, I've seen you speaking with your background unchanged, and the slide was the first one all the time.
Oh,
So I was
really?
wondering,
Oh,
yes,
that was not the plan. Do you all guys see the slides?
now it changed, but I saw one and now this last one. I don't
Oh,
know, I guess
yeah, it should be.
because
It should be the book. Can you see the book and the QR code?
yes, now I can. And before it was like a presentation page. But I thought
Oh,
that all these things you were speaking about for me would have been good to see them in a
yes, of course they
small
were
diagram
there.
or something because I'm very visual. So,
Yeah, of course. The slides are there. I was scrolling down, so I saw it. You can see the slides. So, anyways, I think it got recorded, so you will be able to watch the recording.
but did
Hopefully.
anyone see slides
Mm-hmm. Do you guys see the
changing
slides as
slides?
well?
Okay.
They are not. You see, they're not seeing
No,
and not listening.
they will see the recording, but I think they
Yes,
didn't
yes, yes.
change.
They will
The
watch the
slides
recording.
didn't change.
Mm-hmm.
At
Yeah,
least I didn't see them.
yeah,
But
yeah.
anyway.
Anyways, you will be able to see them, and I can share the slides with you like separately when will be sending that over. No problem. Yeah. So as you can see the book. So if you're interested, you can scan the QR code, and it will lead you to the page. Slides are visible, Anthony is saying. Yeah. So maybe, Natalie, there's some glitches on your site with internet. So if you click here, you will see the workbook. So you might be able to look through it and purchase if you are interested. And I think if I don't have any questions here, okay. All right. So, and we've got the living company study when in 1980s, just a little case study to support the whole thing. When Shell conducted the research, they were interested because, you know, there was oil and gas period and they were thinking about, is there life after oil and gas? Yeah. So now we have renewables. We talk about renewables actually actively. So they conducted the research and they explored particularly very traditional and very old companies that were older than 100 years old. Yeah, so very old companies, like very, solid companies. And they found the keys to longevity of the company. First one is conservative financing. Yeah, so it proves that, when you do things in the conservative way, when you sort of, the good things sometimes are the new things are sometimes the forgotten old things. Yeah, sometimes the good things are just forgotten old stuff. Yeah, we don't need to reinvent the wheel here. And liberal management practice, and we will get into that, the culture of belonging and sensitivity to environment. So this is what they found out as the most important factors that play a role for the company, in the company's success. Yeah, the companies who overcame many difficulties, who lived longer than 100 years. How does it connect to bonsai thinking? It's very simple. Number one, liberal management practice. What does it mean? It means no micromanagement. So the employees were learning to self-regulate, which is meta skills, metacognition, and meta motivation. Yeah, this is the learning part when we bring in neuroscience interventions. So they set the tasks and achieved their goals on their own. And this taps into emotional intelligence in our framework. The culture of belonging. Identifying, it means identifying yourself with the company. Yeah, so the employees and management had a good understanding of companies' values and their own values. And all of them were in alignment. So the personal values of the employees, they were in alignment with the values of the company. And this is unlearning. And it taps into spiritual intelligence. And number three, sensitivity to environment. What I was talking about, yeah, this salience network. So connected, when the employees were connected to what is happening around them. So these companies, the executive, the CEO, was not somebody who was just like, was just putting his head in the sand, yeah, and just doing their own stuff, like Nokia. Yeah, Nokia missed the smartphone opportunity. They said, oh, we are selling our brick phones very well, we don't need to, change anything. And that was the problem. Yeah, so the leaders of the companies were outward looking, empathetic, and sensitive to changes and the developments in real world. And this steps into unlearning. Here we go, the case study to support the framework. And I always say that it's just to say goodbye, because I think I'm over time now, 5 minutes, so I don't want to keep you here for longer. So the top AI scientists, yeah, Damis Hassabis, the graduate of UCL, he said that learning how to learn will be the next generation's most needed skill. I would add learning how to learn, unlearn, and relearn. And here are the pretty frameworks. And we also do as I said, bonsai executive coaching, when we coach the clients in this process. And these are the high net worth clients, usually, maybe some names that you know, but the coaching is anonymous. And please join now, as you still have time till the 25th of December to join the course to become an educational engineer. And we have this promotional, absolutely low price for, to help especially teachers to join the course. So if you want to become a metacognitive expert and not just change your classroom, but change the system. That's it from my side. I'm very thankful for you. I'm very thankful that you attended today. So thank you for coming. Thank you for your attention. And if you don't have any questions, hopefully I'm going to see you soon, right? So please stay tuned. And the next webinar is also very interesting on black swans and learning. It's going to be next week. So we're trying to, I'm trying to have them every single week on Wednesdays at 7 o'clock UK time. If you can't attend, still register if you are interested to get the recording, okay? So, good night, everybody, and hope to see you again soon. Bye bye.